Hello everyone, you're listening to Alternative Revelations with Linda Emanuel. And this is podcast 36, and it's a pretty important podcast. I'm going to talk about the pH and also how to detox the body and what tools are available to us to do this. But first, before I get started, I have to read you this disclaimer that I am not a medical doctor, nor am I a practitioner. I cannot give medical advice, and these podcasts are for informational purposes only. And with that said and done, I can now begin the podcast. It seems like all roads lead back to mycoplasma, and disease and cancer are actually infections that are caused by microorganisms such as mycoplasma, viruses, and fungus. And these organisms flourish in an acidic environment. So you might be wondering what determines alkalinity and acidity. And everything we eat, including meat, contains minerals, which are actually rocks. And there are minerals that are alkaline, and there are minerals that are acidic. And all processed food, even if it's your can of tomatoes or your can of green beans, they're all acidic because of all the processed chemicals that are inside that can. Now, think of it this way. When you eat something and the body breaks down molecules to make energy, minerals, which are rocks, do not burn. They're left in the tissue as residual ash. And the pH of your cells is determined on how much acid or alkaline minerals are in the tissues. If you have more acidic minerals in your tissue left as residual ash from what you eat, your cells become acidic. If you have more alkaline minerals in your cells, they are alkaline. And remember that mycoplasma flourish in a pH lower than 7, usually 5 to 6.8. So many Americans are eating an acidic diet loaded with processed sugar and processed food, soda, artificial flavorings, etc., and a lot of meat. Meat is acidic. Now back to the podcast. Now again, there's acid minerals and there's alkaline minerals. So depending on how much acid minerals and alkaline minerals are in your cells, this determines your pH, and the letters pH stand for potential hydrogen. Now the pH scale is between 0 and 14, 7 being neutral, 0 being extremely acid, and 14 being extremely alkaline. Now I'm also going to give you some examples on the pH scale. This is from my book, Alternative Revelations. Now remember, 14 is pure alkaline, 0 is pure acid, and 7 is neutral. Now mycoplasma die at a pH of 8.6. Normally bacteria live between 5 and 6.8. Now for example, bleach is 13. Soapy water is 12. 11 is ammonia. 10 is milk of magnesia. 9 is baking soda, and we discussed that in another podcast. 7 is neutral. That's distilled water. No minerals, either acid or alkaline, are in distilled water. 6 is human urine. 5.5 is human skin. 5 is black coffee. Tomato juice is 4. Lactic acid is 3.86. Orange juice is 3. Lemon juice is 2. Sulfuric dioxide is 1.89. Now stomach acid in your gut is 1.5 to 3.5. And I also got to mention that lactic acid, when mycoplasma, which needs sugar, breaks down sugar, it turns it into lactic acid, and this is highly acidic. So people who have cancer and a lot of mycoplasma activity going on, their body is full of lactic acid. And amazingly, what the liver does is it's called the cachexia cycle. When a person has cancer and they are eating sugar, the sugar turns into lactic acid, and the liver automatically turns lactic acid back into sugar, and this just continuously feeds the mycoplasma. That is why it's so dangerous to eat sugar when you have a mycoplasma infection. Sugar is turned into lactic acid, and then the liver turns lactic acid back into sugar, and it just goes right back into feeding the mycoplasma. This is called the cachexia cycle. Now, I also have to bring up the point that acid minerals and alkaline minerals bind and neutralize each other, and this is very important to remember later on in this podcast. Now, the blood must maintain a 7.25 to 7.45 pH, otherwise you may die. Now, bacteria in the soil and the gut flourish in a pH of 5 to 6.8. And yes, just like our gut, the soil is acidic because plants need bacteria too to break down matter into compost for their nutrition. Now I'll give you some examples of alkaline minerals: calcium, magnesium, potassium, manganese, and iron. Now I'm going to tell you some acid minerals: hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, phosphoric acid, sulfuric acid, boric acid, hydrobromic acid. And notice that all the acids are acidic. And this is important because meat contains a lot of nucleic acid, and meat is acidic. Also, if you look at those cans or that soda, it contains a lot of acid, and soda and processed food in a can is acidic, highly acidic. And it is amazing how the body has ways to protect itself from too much acid minerals, because acid minerals create a haven for bacteria, and of course bacteria, fungus, and viruses are the cause of cancer and disease. Now, one of the ways the body has to get rid of acid minerals is to neutralize them. Remember before I said that alkaline and acid minerals bind with each other to neutralize. So the first mechanism a body uses is referred to as the great alkaline reserve, which keeps the blood's pH in perfect balance, which is alkaline. For every action, there is a reaction. When you eat too much food containing high concentrations of acid minerals, the body reacts by calling upon the great alkaline reserve. Stored alkaline minerals are released into the bloodstream and bind to the acid minerals, thus neutralizing them. Now, this causes the blood's pH to stabilize and return to perfect balance, an alkaline of pH of 7.25 to 7.45. Now, the body uses the reserve to stabilize the blood, but the body has really no way for the great alkaline reserve to neutralize what you eat and goes into the cells. Now, another way the body has a defense mechanism against acidity is the following. And another way is the body sweats. We release a lot of toxins by sweating, but of course we live in air-conditioned houses, we live in air-conditioned cars, we exercise in air-conditioned gyms. Nobody really sweats anymore. And that was another way for the body to release harmful, toxic, acidic mineral waste. Now, the last mechanism the body uses is as follows. The body releases acidic minerals through the kidneys and the colon. Now, for our ancestors, this was ideal. Their diet consisted of large quantities of fruits, whole grains, vegetables, seeds, etc., which made elimination a quick process. However, today, it's a different story. Most Americans' diet consists of large quantities of highly processed foods and meat. Remember, meat is acidic, which contain a high concentration of acidic minerals and are very, very constipating. We also do not drink enough water. Thus, the elimination process is slowed down tremendously. When the elimination process is slowed down, the colon then has a chance to reabsorb the toxins and put them right back into circulation, where they go right back into the tissues. Now, at the end of the podcast, I do have a way to detox the liver, and I hope you stay tuned for that. I'm going to now talk about what food we eat, what the concentrations of alkaline and acid minerals are. And if I can't post these charts, which are from my book, in the podcast, but I will post them on my YouTube. My YouTube channel is called Alternative Revelations, and I will have the pictures of these charts on the screen of the video. So here goes. Now, what I did was, when I researched my book on all the alkaline and acid minerals that are in food, it's very difficult to find exactly what the percentage is, or not the percentage, but what the value is, because it depends upon the soil. If there's more alkaline minerals in the soil, the plant absorbs more minerals, just like you and me. If we don't have access to these minerals, we can't get to them. So that's the same way for plants. So what I did was I did a range. And I did a range, like, for instance, on the pH scale. I'll give you an example. Artificial sweeteners, fast food, and sugar contain an extremely high concentration of acidic minerals. Now, extremely high is between 0 and 1.75. So when I say, for example, something is slightly acidic, it is between 5.25 and 7. That's how I did it. It's very difficult to pinpoint a value on food. So I did a range, and I'm going to go through vegetables first. Now, looking at my chart, there are no vegetables that are acidic. They are all alkaline, and some are more alkaline than the others, meaning that they contain more alkaline minerals. And the body acts in reverse. I've got to explain this. The body must neutralize. Even if you eat more alkaline food, the body has to stabilize the alkalinity back to 7.25 to 7.45. And I'll give you an example. Cayenne peppers are extremely high in alkaline minerals, meaning 12.25 to 14. So what the body does when you eat something like this, the body says, neutralize. So it will pull acid minerals out of the tissues to neutralize that extremely high dose of alkaline minerals. So that's one of the ways to detox, or to bring your cells back to an alkaline state, by eating highly alkaline food. The body acts in reverse. It must neutralize the blood. So the blood, they will pull acid minerals out of tissue to neutralize those extremely high alkaline minerals. So let me continue. I'll just read down the list. Asparagus is high, meaning 10 to 12.25. Beets are medium. Broccoli are medium. Brussels sprouts are slightly alkaline. Cabbage is medium. Carrots are high. meaning 10.50 to 12.25. Cauliflower is medium. Celery is high. Collard greens, medium. Cucumbers, medium. Eggplant, medium. Endive and escarole is high. Garlic is high in alkaline minerals. Kale is medium. Kelp is extremely high. Lettuce is medium. Medium meaning 8.75 to 10.50. Onions range from slightly to high. Parsley is extremely high in alkaline minerals. Peppers, bell peppers, are medium. Again, cayenne peppers are extremely high. Now, all potatoes are medium. Now, this means that you have to keep the skin on the potatoes. All the nutrients in a potato are in its skin, but be careful not to eat the eyes. Those are toxic. Pumpkin, medium. Spinach is high. Squash is medium. And tomatoes range from slight to medium alkalinity. And that wraps up vegetables. And again, I will post this chart on my YouTube channel. Now, the following, I'm going to go over some fruit. Now, it's important to remember that, let's say, lemons are acidic and all juices or fruit juices are acidic. But that is the citric acid going down. But once the lemons get into the body, they're loaded with alkaline minerals. So here goes on fruit. Now, fruit is also, there's only a few that are slightly acidic. So apples, for one thing, are medium alkalinity. Apricots are high. Avocados are high. Bananas are high. Blueberries are slightly acidic, meaning just under 7. Cherries are medium. Cranberries are slightly acidic. Grapefruit is high in alkalinity. Grapes are high. Kiwi is high. Lemons and limes are extremely high in alkaline minerals. All of your melons are extremely high in alkalinity. Your mangoes and papaya are extremely high in alkaline minerals. Nectarines are high. Oranges with pulp are medium. Peaches are medium. Pears are high. Pineapple is high. Plums, prunes are slightly acidic. Raspberries are high. Strawberries are high. Tangerines are medium. Now I'm going to go through the chart of miscellaneous, and it can vary from meat all the way to eggs to wine and artificial sweeteners. So I'm going to probably list, each time I list something, I'm going to tell you whether it's alkaline or acid. And the first one on the list are almonds, raw. They're medium alkalinity. All other nuts are slightly acidic. White flour is high acidity. Refined sugar is extremely high acidity. Artificial sweeteners are extremely high acidity. Coffee is high acidity. Fast food is extremely high in acidity. Soda, regular our diet, is extremely high in acidity. All processed meat is extremely high in acidity. Chicken, beef is medium acidity. And all the rest I'm going to mention are acidic. Pork is high. Brown rice is medium. White rice is high. Beer and liquor is high. Wine is medium. Eggs, slightly acidic, right under 7. Now we're coming down the home stretch. I'm going to talk about ways to detox. And this is an interesting story that I have for you. And it started in 2006 when I was in Rhode Island visiting my grandchildren. and my grandchildren offered me a piece of beef jerky, and it had a terrible effect on me. I was poisoned by nitrates. The beef jerky poisoned me. It was loaded with nitrates, and I was so sick in St. Louis that doctors did not know what to do, and I was desperate and called the doctor that gave me the IVs of silver down in Birmingham, Alabama, and I drove down there hoping that he could help me. Now, when I drove down there, he put me on a machine called the QX machine. And this is a diagnostic tool, and it's really fascinating to research this if you have time. It's called the QX machine and was invented by a NASA engineer way back. And when the doctor hooked me up to this QX machine and ran a diagnostic, one of the things that came up was a virus called the Zaire virus, and the Zaire virus was brought back by the Iraqi soldiers from Iraq. And what was so scary about this virus was that it attacks the liver, but people who are diagnosed with the Zaire virus live only 1 year. So this was very frightening, and the doctor had nothing that he could give me. I think he gave me some kind of medicine, but it didn't work. And when I returned to St. Louis, I was desperate, and I started praying. And then I had an answer to my prayers. When I got home, I happened to be talking to a friend, and he began telling me about a woman who had this machine, and he put his feet in this machine, and there was water in this machine, and he was telling me how the water turned real dirty. And he gave me the number of this woman, and I called her up. And what she had was an ion foot bath, which detoxes the body. Of course, I was desperate because I was in so much pain, and I knew I only had a 1 year to get well. It was that bad. In fact, this Zaire virus, I researched it, and it was a hybrid of Ebola. So the sources I got my information from said that it was invented in a lab. It kind of reminds me of the mycoplasma and the AIDS and other bioweapons. So I bought this machine, and I started using it. And the first time I used it, the water gets kind of dirty, and then it ends up after about 20 minutes, all this sludge comes out of your body. But one of the great things about this machine was after it was over, after the session was over, I felt so much lighter, and my joints didn't hurt anymore. See, the Zaire virus was also attacking, or the nitrates had also attacked my joints, and I was really in bad shape. Now, the following is a seller's description of the Ionic Foot Spa. The Ion Foot Spa is a holistic way of approaching disease through saturation of the blood, tissue, cells, and organs with ions. These treatments are based on ionization of water and osmosis to draw toxins from the body. The ion foot bath produces negative hydrogen ions in the water, and ions act as both an energy carrier and an antioxidant in a human body. Many users claim it enhances the body detoxification and helps you lose weight, inactivates viruses, bacteria, yeast, and fungus, reduces pain and inflammation, and relieves tension, slows down many conditions associated with old age, purifies the blood and lymph, and chelates heavy metals, increases energy, stimulates the immune system. Within 10 minutes into my first session, the water and the water had turned a light brown. As the minutes passed, the water started getting dirtier and dirtier until the water went from dark brown to black. By the end of the session, the tub's water was filled with a dark, brownish, black, scum-like sludge. Even more amazing, I could feel the pain in my knees and other joints lessening. When the foot bath was over, I was able to get up from the chair without experiencing pain. I also had feeling of lightness. About a month after I started the foot baths, I returned to the doctor's office down in Alabama where I got my silver IVs for another session with the QX machine. During the session, while he was reading the results, he startled me by saying, "Girl, what have you been eating?" Not knowing what he meant, I defensively answered, "I try to eat healthy. I've been eating fruits and vegetables." Shocked by the QX readout, he blurted out and said, "Your pH is 8.6. Yes, my ion foot bath had pulled all the toxins, heavy metals, and acidic mineral waste out of my body and had even raised my pH too. Further, the alkaline environment definitely had killed the virus because the QX was no longer detecting it. Now, the ion foot bath ranged from $795 to $1,200 or $1,300, and where I got my foot bath was from www.theIonspa.com, and I highly recommend this. Now, I have some jokes about my ion foot bath, and I usually when I stand up in front of a crowd, when I talk about it, I'll say, if you saw all the toxic crud that comes out of people, you'd be scared to death to have sex with yourself. And then I'll finish by saying, if somebody came up to me tomorrow and said to me, "Linda, you're going to the moon tomorrow and you can only take 2 things with you, what would you choose?" And my answer was, well, I'd take my ion foot bath for sure and a very long extension cord. So usually I get a really good laugh out of that one. But I would love to talk or have a podcast on the QX machine. It's the most amazing machine and the inventor, but that's for another podcast maybe. But you might be able to find it on Google still. It's called the QX machine, and it's most interesting that it can detect everything that's going on in your body, even your pH and what organisms are inside your body. It's the most amazing thing to learn about. Now, on with the podcast about other ways to detox. Now, I have heard of places in St. Louis where you can go and sit in a salt room. This salt pulls out toxins from your body. There's also, if you go to the YWCA or you go to YMCA, or you go to a spa and you can get into a steam room to sweat it out. And this is one of the last things I'll talk about. This is from Tony Isaac. He has a liver detox, and I'm going to read it to you. I don't know if I had this in my book. I do believe I did. Let me find it. Now, Tony Isaac is pretty famous or well known about his oleander protocol, and that was discussed in a previous podcast near the beginning. But he has a liver cleanse protocol. Now, Dr. Max Gerson, who I'm going to do a podcast on, observed cancer could not develop unless the liver was impaired. Now, when you kill pathogens, the pathogens such as mycoplasma release endotoxins, which heavily tax the liver. Now, the release of these toxins can overwhelm an already weakened liver and cause the immune system to respond, which is the Herxheimer. Now, the following liver cleanse can help rejuvenate or restore the liver. And it's a 5-day liver cleanse. And it is to be noted that it is suggested that day 4 be on a Saturday, or at least at a time when you can stay home, which sounds like you're going to be in the bathroom a lot. So day 1, this is the first day, and it's a 4-day liver cleanse. Day 1, drink 1 liter of, or it's 4 cups of apple juice during the day. Eat normally. Day 2, drink another liter, which is 4 cups of apple juice. Eat normally. Day 3, drink another liter of apple juice. Eat normally. Now, day 4, do not eat any solid food after lunchtime. At 6 p.m., take 1 level tablespoon of Epsom salt in a glass of water. At 8 p.m., take another tablespoon of Epsom salt in a glass of water. At 10 p.m., mix 1/2 glass of olive oil and 3/4 glass of freshly squeezed grapefruit. Now repeat that. At 10 p.m., after you've taken the 6 and 8 p.m. Epsom salt, mix 1/2 glass of olive oil and 3/4 glass of freshly squeezed grapefruit juice. Pour into a jar with a lid and shake well. Drink mixture and get into bed after drinking the mixture. Day 5. You may be taking more than 1 trip to the toilet during the night. Day 4 as well as during day 5. Now this is for your information. Tony Isaac is famous for his oleander soup protocol. Now I'm sure there's other ways to detox, and one of the best ways is the ion foot bath. I swear by it. I was afflicted with that Zaire virus, which was deadly. That terrified me because mycoplasma you can live with, but the Zaire virus, deadly. And you know, I really do believe that God put me through that. Not that he was punishing me, but I really did need to learn about these different protocols, the ion foot bath. It just seemed like that came right to me after I got sick with the nitrates, and that triggered a virus. And you know, trauma triggers organisms, and this time I didn't have the mycoplasma, but it was the Zaire virus. So I hope these podcasts have been very educational. I hope you enjoy them. I hope they help. And it's all about educating yourself and protecting yourself from cancer and disease. Now, my next podcast is going to be about Dr. Gerson, about his therapy, and maybe some other things added in. So that wraps up this podcast number 36. So, until next time, good night and God bless.